Good morning, folks. Welcome to Giving Psychology Away. I think this is going to be number 121. I'm not sure. I got to look it up. Anyway, if you've joined me, my name is Dr. John Taylor Kent. Have some accomplishments, and it's been quite a long life with a lot of degrees, a lot of study. 5 college degrees, ending in a doctorate. I subspecialized prematurely in neuropsychology and then in industrial organizational psychology. And then ultimately I became a generalist because I found it much richer, a better practice for me. You always had something different in front of you. It was different every time. So it didn't get boring. It was not that repetitive. So if you want to know about my background, please go to the website. You'll see the Dr. Kent Show, Giving Psychology Away. And you'll find that there are actually 3 different blogs, 2 old blogs that are archived. I do not monitor those blogs. I don't check the messages, the feedback, or any of that stuff. I haven't gotten into those things in years. And some of those videos, some of those shows are pretty important. And probably the most important thing I did when I got on the radio is I told a joke. And it was not a funny joke. I was telling you straight up the truth. But I had to tell it as a joke because you would have thought I was a madman. You might think that anyway. I called the FDA, which is properly known as the Food and Drug Administration, I called it the Federal Death Administration. That's exactly what it is. And right now, they are allowing the poisoning to rampantly pervade your food supply. There's almost nothing. When I walk into a grocery store today, I look around and I see poison. I see poison everywhere. And I'm not being paranoid. I'm just telling you that most of the stuff that's on the shelves, especially stuff that's been processed, is poison. Most of what they call food today is poison. And most of us suffer from malnutrition. Even in the United States of America, we don't get proper nutrition at all. Now, just for an example, you see this dark hair up here? It started to turn dark on me. It started to turn dark on me in the last 3 months. It was white. It was a nice uniform thing. I liked it. I mean, it looked great. This, I don't like that much. But it's because I actually got the right minerals. I started using the volcanic salt out of Hawaii. It was on the shelf for quite a while. I bought it from the Spice Shack. A couple of nice Amish girls run that Spice Shack. So I bought a bunch of different salts to try, and I didn't try the one until recently. So recently, my salt mill, the grinder, ran out of the volcanic black salt, and I put it in apple-based salt. It's got who knows what in it, and it's not going to do this to my hair. But I'm going to go back to the black Hawaiian volcanic salt. I like it a lot better than the Himalayan salt, and it puts that doggone sea salt, what is that stuff called? The Celtic sea salt, it puts that stuff to shame. So I'm going to be getting a hold of the girls. They're in Amish country. If any of you older gentlemen is looking for a suitable wife that will actually be faithful, be loyal, and these women got some bucks, man. I mean, they're good business people. And they're out in the middle of Amish country at Fort Wayne. And they're both kind of, they're getting older, and they'd love to have husbands. I'll tell you one thing, you'd be supported pretty good, and those women take care of their men. They're hardworking. They're much more hardworking than anybody else in this country. I mean, as one of my friends whose second wife just passed away, and I talked to him last night. I asked him if he's going to get married again. He didn't think so. He was just going to tell a woman to move into the house across the street, and then when she got to be a pain in the ass, he was going to send her over to her own place. We talked about what a concubine was in the Bible, and we don't think there are any concubines today, but it was actually a noble relationship in which a woman was fully supported. She was not shared and passed around. She was owned by the one man. There was faithfulness, fidelity there, and it was one of the relationships that existed in the Old Testament Bible. And it's not prostitution. And it sure isn't this sugar baby stuff we have going on today, in which these women see as many guys as they want, overlap like crazy. And we are in agreement that any woman who's had she's had 5 men, been with more than 5 men, she's no good. Forget about it. She's not going to be able to pair off. You're not going to be able to trust her either. So that's the magic number. I got that from Eastern philosophy. It says if a woman's been with more than 5 men, she's no good. She's not marriage material. Now, if you want to go to Western philosophy, and then you look up in the Bible and you see this woman who Yahshua confronted at the well and told her everything about her life, including that she had been married 5 times and the man she was with right then was not her husband. So the magic number is 5, ladies. Once you hit number 5, sorry, it's over for you. You know, if you're within the first 5, and I'm telling this to men, if she's been with 5 men, you're not going to have much success. It's going to be like marrying a drug user. Her chemistry's never going to be right. She's not going to be able to bond. But if you're within the number 5, if you're one of the first 5, she might be able to bond to you. That's what your studies will show eventually when you get around to doing it. I don't plan upon being around that long. Oh, and by the way, you're not going to be around that long either. Why? You are under attack, and you don't know it. And the purpose of this particular episode of Giving Psychology Away is to fully inform you. You're being attacked on all fronts. A war is being waged. It is the fight of good and evil, but it is a physical war. What do you think all of these trains are derailing for at the same time? What do you think they're burning off those chemicals for in particular places? They are destroying your watersheds. They're poisoning you. They're going to continue to poison you. They're going to continue to destroy the infrastructure in this country until one day they've decided that you've been conquered. And at that point, they're going to make the announcement. We beat you. You lost the war. Therefore, hand over your guns. And the real bloodbath is going to begin then. So, the American public is going to be waking up. It'll be sometime this summer. I don't know if it'll be the beginning of summer or the end of summer. But by the time it wakes up, it will be too late. Most of the destruction will have already occurred. You will have to be armed, protecting public facilities, because your Congress purposely made you vulnerable. Your politicians purposely made you totally vulnerable and unprotected against the enemies that they've lit in the gates. They did that on purpose. They're all traitors down there. Even those new congresswomen, that new one from Alaska, I talked to the office and my buddies informed me about her. I got news for you, folks. It's going to be so bad that people are going to be taking them out and they're going to be giving them portable swing sets. Let's call it that way. You know, children like swings. Yeah. Well, we're going to be providing a lot of portable swing sets. You don't know what I'm talking about? That's okay. That's all right. Basically, what it comes down to is you're going to be so pissed off. You're going to be so hungry because they've been destroying your food processing plants, which ain't really a bad thing because they're busy putting poisons in your food through that. Yeah, your Federal Death Administration has approved all of this nanotechnology going into your food stuff. It crosses the blood-brain barrier. It lodges in different parts of your bodies. It causes inflammation. It's poisoning. And they're killing you off as fast as they can get away with it. You need to understand, it's not our government. You can have your government back, and you don't have to take these guys out, to believe it or not, to do that. But the fact is, it's so late, and they are going aggressive. They have brought in all these young warriors. They brought in killers, soldiers, enemies for decades, getting ready for this. So these folks, when they go off, it's going to get worse. These railroad trains are not being derailed by accident. If you look at the East Palestine stuff, it was positioned perfectly to take out a city of Trump supporters. Yes, the Democrats are that evil. They would do that. So they're taking out a city of Trump supporters. They're also racist as hell. It's systemic racism against white people. So they're killing a bunch of white people, poor whites. And they've destroyed that watershed for about a third of the population. Maybe only a fourth of the population. But it's going to take out most of the watershed in the state of Indiana. The state of Indiana, the only safe water is going to be somewhere around Interstate 90 and above. Everything to that point has the potential for being totally polluted and destroyed. And this polyvinyl chloride, that's a fancy word, right? Have you ever heard of marsh gas? Have you ever heard of mustard gas? That's what is formed when you burn that stuff off. And they pump tons of it into the air. They're doing this on purpose so that you won't catch them killing your ass. That's what's going on. And if you're listening to this show, you're a woke up individual, and I would usually say you dumbasses and all that, but you're all I got right now. I got about 205, 206 subscribers, and that's it. And here I am giving the wake-up call. I don't ride horseback. I'm not looking for lanterns. I'm not doing any signals, although I've done that in preparation for this. I've done all kinds of stuff in preparation for this. You would not believe what I have done in preparation to get to this moment in time and space. You won't believe what you've done either, by the way. You're just not aware of it. I'm aware of it. Vaguely and barely. But you need to understand something. This war is a fight to the finish. This one's for all the marbles. And as a matter of fact, let's talk about what America First really means. I know you're listening to it saying, oh, that sounds great, America First. Did you ever stop to think, what do they really mean by that? What do they mean by America First? The real meaning is, first we take down America, and then we have the whole world. Once we take down America, there's nothing standing between us and the little guy around the world. And the problem with Americans is you're fat, flabby, lazy, you're emasculated, except the women. They're masculine as hell. They've become a bunch of bitches, I'm sad to say. And they've been the biggest cause of the demise of the nation. You need to understand something. According to Sex and Culture, published in 1934, in every society, every culture which allowed the unbridled sexuality of females, that culture disappeared from the face of the earth. There was only one man that was able to put that genie back in the bottle, and it didn't last very long. And he eventually, he didn't die during World War II. He lived to be about 90 years of age. He was protected by your FBI. Yes, your FBI knew where Adolf was after the war. They knew where he was living. They protected him. You see, the enemy came in and took us over. While men slept, the enemy crept in. They did that in our religious institutions. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, they certainly did. And you may think that you're a devout Christian or you're a devout Catholic. I got news for you. Every one of those has been taken over by the evil ones. That's right. So if you want to be religious, stop going to your church and stop going to your ceremonies. Unless it's a real small group, unless it's strictly biblically oriented, unless it's studying the scriptures, it's a screw job. And if you're not reading the Bible for yourself, it's guaranteed you're going to get screwed. It's guaranteed you're going to be taken advantage of. Why? Because you lack a foundation. You have no idea what you lack. It is that bad. And so they're going to take you down. Look, Barack Obama said some stuff that was really pretty good, but you guys didn't hear him. When he mocked the people in inner America, flyover country, he said that you cling to your guns and your Bibles. Didn't you realize he was telling you what you actually needed to do, what was good for you? And so far, you're just clinging to guns. And you don't even have a Second Amendment. You don't even have militias anymore. That's how we maintain self-rule, is we had the militia. And if our legislators weren't doing the job, we took care of it. And if one of our politicians was a criminal, we took care of it. We arrested them. You haven't had a militia for over 100 years. It was taken away in this long road, this long march to conquer America. And this is the culmination of it. And you're waking up and you're realizing that your government is your enemy and has been taken over. That is what your job is to do, is to wake up, realize what's going on, and then get yourself to terms with it. And how are you going to get to terms with it? How are you going to be able to defend yourselves? For Christ's sake, you can't even think for yourselves. And don't give me this, well, I watch your show, everything's okay. I'm sorry, but the fact is that we've all suffered from the brainwashing, and no one of us escapes it, not even Dr. Kent. It's in the language, it's inherent in the stuff they've been doing for millennia. If you read about the Tower of Babel, you'll start to understand the language traps. It's much worse than just speaking a different language. They actually took that much further and weaponized language to be able to control your thoughts. Yes, they do. You may think, oh, no, I can think for myself. No, you can't. It's inherent in the language and the assumptions there under the language. That's how they control the outcome. That's how they control your thinking. They control the assumptions. And therefore, the argument, the intellectual argument, comes out the way they want every time. And they put dual meanings to these words. It is Babel, Babblegook. They do that purposely to confuse you and throw things off. And they do that with America first. It means destroy, take down America first. That's what it means. And you listen to these people on the radio, and you think that, my God, they're good Americans. They are loyal. They are, oh my God, they're America first. And it's all set up, folks. Not a one of them that is syndicated is outside of the Mockingbird media. They're all controlled. Some of them are dumbasses and don't know it. They're dupes, but they're controlled. And it does not make America great again. It does not work that way, folks. America was great because she was good. Is America good today? Is America any good today? How good are you? I've got problems. I'm not that good. Things change with time. I'm doing better as I get older. Am I good? Well, I guess I am. I'm too honest for my own good. Even the Spirit's telling me how to take advantage and what to do, and I think, nah, that's not right. Well, I'm doing my best to tune into the Holy Spirit, to tune into Yahweh's Spirit and Yahweh's will. And that's what your job is too. Yeshua, you call Jesus, which is a major mistake, because that's not his name. And it does matter. Jackasses out there demand to know, why does it matter? Does it really matter? Yes, it matters. It matters tremendously because your ass has been deceived. It's been deceived because you put up with little lies like that. His name is Yeshua. It means he who saves the anointed. There is saving as part of his name. Jesus doesn't mean that. And they put that name forward to tell you Jesus saves. Where? Kmart? Walmart? Tell me where Jesus saves. You know, they got you carried away with this magical thinking. And they feed you a bunch of bovine excrement. They feed you stuff that is not true, that is not biblically true. It's not in the scriptures. Let me give you one example. All men came from Adam. It's bovine excrement. It's a lie. Not all men came from Adam. We took the words that were in the Bible indicating the Adamic men, Adam kind, and the words indicating the original men, the earthy men, and we interpreted as man and men. If you go back to the original words, the original meanings, you will realize that the Bible distinguishes between Adam kind and the rest. It also distinguishes between the fallen angels and the hybrids they've formed and the rest. It distinguishes between the sons of Seth, who are proper Adamites, and the sons of Cain, who were half-breeds. And in case you're wondering, that diversity doesn't do us any good. Why? Because they're half-breeds, half satanic DNA, half Adamic DNA. And those are your two warring factions on the planet. And the problem is, we look like each other. And so they got everybody confused. They got everyone deceived. And they've been playing the biggest identity theft in history. You listen to my shows. You've got the Dr. Kent Show, Giving Psychology Away, which you're tuned into. And you have Awakening Israel. AI does not stand for artificial intelligence. It stands for Awakening Israel. So wake your dumbasses up. Look, this is a serious, all-out, unbridled, unlimited fight. It is a bad one. It is not going to be good. And by this summertime, there are going to be riots like you wouldn't believe. It's going to be in D.C., in Maryland. Couldn't happen to a nicer bunch of people. Man, California, New York maybe. Look, folks, they're setting this thing up to take us down on purpose. Those food processing plants that are having all those accidents, that's no accident, folks. That's all by design. It's done on purpose. The evil one and his children own the planet. They rule the planet today. They rule the United States of America today. And you look at them and think they're great philanthropists. Shit. They're Satan's children, deceiving you. And they're waging unlimited war. They turn everything against us. Even music, even sound, frequencies, electricity, radio frequency interference. They turn it all into weapons against us, and they keep us in the dark. While their technology advances and they don't suffer cancers, their lives get elongated. They get longer lives. They don't suffer diabetes. In case you're wondering, that was designed in, folks. They planned for that. I realized that a long time ago when I saw all those parking spaces there for people that were invalids, whatever you want to call them, disabled or challenged, what the hell you want to call them. They put all those parking spaces at the college when I was young. And I realized they were getting ready for the diabetes they were going to create and give you. They cause most of your damn diseases, your heart diseases engineered into the society. into your food system, into the whole thing. Your diabetes is engineered in. Your Alzheimer's is caused on purpose. Your mental problems, your autism, it's all poisoning. That's what they've been doing. That's what they majored in. They've been on the planet for a long time. We've been fighting them for a long time, and we don't realize it. It's because you're numb and you're ignorant and you won't relate to Yahweh. Once you start reading the Bible, the foundation of all Western civilization, you're going to find yourself less deceived, less susceptible to being lied to. Oh, you're still vulnerable. And you're not designed to do this life without relating to Yahweh personally. If you're one of my kind, that's the design. And so you're supposed to be tuned into Yahweh. You're supposed to seek His will for you, for your life. And it's different than His will for me and for my life. That's diversity. And Yahweh will tell you which way to go, what to choose. It ain't easy, folks. You've got to read that Bible. All of our founding fathers were schooled in the Bible, including the agnostics who didn't believe any of that stuff. We made a man-made religion out of it. We created a bunch of lies out of it. Your central government, especially your Treasury Department, insist that you become a 501c corporation, a non-profit corporation. Why is that? Well, they dictate to you what you're going to preach from the pulpit. And you cannot preach that all men did not come from Adam. You cannot preach the biblical truth, the absolute truth. There's a lot of different species on this planet, and we've mixed and we've mingled, and we've created hybrids here. We have become co-creators here. Now, I'm not going to go as far as to say that the mixes shouldn't exist, because I think that actually is all of us, folks. At certain levels, we're all mixes. My God, there was some fella teasing a woman on Facebook the other day about being thick-headed and being a Neanderthal. And, oh, he was just talking about how solid she was, basically. And I pointed out to him, so you expect somebody to be endeared to you because you call them thick-skulled? You know? And as far as Neanderthals go, yeah, she's got a little Neanderthal in there, but not as much as the Chinese have in them. They've got the Neanderthal DNA. You see, folks, we're all mixes of these different species at this point. We're all invaders here. We're all been placed on the planet at different times. And we, me and my kind, are the latecomers. We're the last to arrive. Placed here on the earth by Creator Father Yahweh for a mission. Looks like we're failing. Right now, we're losing the war. We're losing this battle. And you think it's just a spiritual battle. And you have to love everybody. Because Jesus is pure love. He picks flowers on the hillside. He would never hurt a fly. And you can't judge others. You have to accept them the way they are. Hogwash! You have to discriminate. You have to make finer discriminations in thought. You have to make fine discriminations in thought. You have to be able to split hairs, make better decisions. And it says in the New Testament, don't you know you shall judge angels? Yeah, fallen angels. That's what we're dealing with today. And if you would wake up, we could get about our Father's business on this planet, which is cleaning it up, taking it over, and running it for the benefit of all the inhabitants, not exploiting it for these few, these rich, these powerful, these son of a bitches who are descendants of Cain, who have fallen angelic DNA in them. And no, your Jesus cannot save them. They're doing their job, fulfilling their destiny. They were given license to sift us. That's all they were given license for, to make sure that we'd be tried and true. Clearly, with their genocides, they are exceeding the license they were given. And so we have to wake up and defend ourselves. Yahweh blesses self-defense. He does not bless rebellion. You don't have proper governments. Your state governments are all corporations as well. And you don't have to go pulling them out of office, although that's what you're going to end up doing in self-defense, because you're going to realize that they've been actively killing you, murdering you for a long time. They're going after your children and you aren't waking up. What the hell is wrong with you? Why are you allowing hell to prevail upon this earth? Don't you know that your destiny is to establish heaven, the kingdom of heaven on the face of the earth? And in case you're wondering, you think you're going to go traveling in space, you're going to be saved by, those guys that want to go launch their rockets and go to Mars and all that bullshit. I got news for you. You could not exist anywhere but on this earth. You are an earthling. And in case you're wondering, most of your genome does not come from your parents. It comes from Mother Earth. And so you cannot survive off this planet because you'll be deprived of those genes from your Mother Earth. You think that's a great mystery? Come on, folks, wake up. It's actually common sense. There's some kids out there that haven't been brainwashed yet. Man, can they think. They can sort things out for you and tell you which way is up or down. And you'll look at them and go, no, a child can't know that. Oh, yeah, child can know that. My parents got pissed because I knew too much. They couldn't handle me. They couldn't control me. That's all they wanted to do was control. Yeah, it was a bit of a communist family without being aware. They lacked self-awareness. Don't you lack self-awareness? Don't you go around disrespecting your fathers, disrespecting men because of that bullshit brainwashing in the news, on the tube, on the silver screen. Don't go around believing that crap. Those people who believe that are beyond redemption. Way beyond redemption. And in case you're wondering, this whole planet is set up so it recycles itself. And the big event is coming up, and the evil ones know that. That's why they're acting out now. They want to kill off as many of you, as many of us as they can, so that they can survive this next Earth age and come out on top again. Yeah, they've been here a long time, folks. As far as I can see, they've managed to dig in the last half a dozen times. That's how long they've been on the planet, from what I can tell. 70 to 72,000 years they arrived here. And your Chinese have got the best records on it. Why do you think the Chinese call us white devils? Why do you think the governments will no longer allow you to call yourself Caucasian? It's all giant mind control. Government. Govern your minds. Control you. Brainwash you. Hide the truth. Make life tougher for you. Shorten your life. Reduce the quality of your life. Dumb your ass down using chemicals. Better living through chemistry. Better living for the elite. They've got all the modern inventions, all the modern treatments. They got all that stuff, and we don't get it. They won't even let us know it exists. They got you brainwashed, thinking global warming is going to destroy the planet. Climate change. Oh yeah, we're going to see some climate change. And most of you who are younger than I am, if you survive and if you live to see it, you're going to see some incredible stuff. Stuff that you would not believe because they've told you differently. They've hidden information and knowledge from you for a long time. They know what's coming. They don't want you to know what's coming, so they get the upper hand. But the problem is, They have screwed with us so badly and robbed us so much. I mean, literally stolen from us, that this financial system is going to be collapsing pretty quickly, and that's what they wanted to do, so they can enslave us further. Now, I do have a question for you. Where's Joseph? Who is Joseph today? Joseph. Joseph is there. He's present. He's telling them what's going on. He's working with Pharaoh once again. Joseph told Pharaoh about the coming famine, about the days of plenty and all that, so he could prepare for it. Well, somebody's told these guys about what's coming, and they think they can prepare for it, and they have to a large extent. But they're not going to win out this time. The Bible says clearly that they're going to go underground and hide, and most of them are going to get drowned out like the rats they are. Many of them will never come out above ground again. They will be trapped under thousands of feet of ice. The earth recycles itself. The earth purifies itself. The earth does this on a regular basis, and thank Yahweh it does, because we make a mess of things, and we make it messier every time. This has been the worst age probably of all. Yes, and you want to see proof of it. Well, look at the pre-existing stuff from before the last ages. There are structures. There's evidence from the previous two Earth ages, and if you look at those, you will realize that we're just getting dumber, and we're just getting weaker. We don't accomplish as much during the Earth age. We don't have the high technology that they had. We're nowhere near as great as they were. They had better architecture. They had better science. They were better people. We have really deteriorated across these Earth ages. And at the end of an Earth age, the Earth's children are really pretty weak. At the beginning of an Earth age, the Earth's children are very strong, because only the strong survive. And if we had the truth, and we all knew what was coming, and we had control of our governments, proper governments, we could prepare all the way around the planet for what's coming. And we could come out of this much further ahead, with more science and technology intact, better able to feed ourselves and to take care of ourselves. But because you will not wake up, because you refuse to do your duty, because you refuse to educate yourself, most of us get scrubbed from the face of the earth. I've got my ear out there. I've been gathering information from those people who know better than I, who are younger than I, who can think a little bit faster and a lot clearer than I can. And it looks like this transition is going to be an easy one in some ways, in other ways not. But the main thing you need to do is you need to awaken now. You need to defend your lives now. Your lives not only depend upon it, but so doesn't the future of the planet to a large extent. If we let these evil ones have their way, they're going to get the nukes flying. Yeah, that's in the Bible, by the way. It's one of the futures, one of the possibilities for us. It is what we deserve. If you read the Bible, you will see that Yahweh says he uses his Barak against his enemies, against those who hate him. And Barak did a good job setting this up. And he is in his third term as president. And a lot of folks are just too dumb and too manipulated and hold on to the old thinking to understand what's going on. In this case right now, Putin is right, and the West is in the wrong. Barak set this thing up against him. He worked with his distant relatives. He worked with Angela Merkel, Theresa May, and that other bitch in the Netherlands that he's related to. They're all related because they all got the same granddaddy. Yeah, that's right. I believe that at least. What do you believe? I think Adolf Hitler survived the war. I think he went to Antarctica and stayed there for quite a while till they learned their lessons in Antarctica, and then he came up north. And he lived in Argentina with his new partner, his bodyguard, a tall Negro woman who apparently loved him to death and would protect him against anyone and anything, and she was taller than he was. He didn't wear that mustache. They kept him hidden. The gold that was smuggled out was used to support him and support their efforts here in the United States of America to destroy America. You see, they did not lose that war. The winners of the war are different than what you think. They're not even mentioned in your history books. They're behind the scenes. Some of you know who I'm talking about and what I'm talking about. Some of you probably know more than I do on a lot of this stuff. That's okay. Yahweh says clearly not to major in evil, not to study it, not to become too familiar with it. Least you go over to the dark side. Least you take up their bad habits and bad ways. I need you to realize that you are at war and you don't even know it. America has been taken over, it's captured. And as long as you stay paralyzed through all of the psychological operations that started with learned helplessness and resulted in a lot of sophisticated psychology that they never published, that they would not tell you about, everything will be fine because Gulliver will sleep and the little minions of the devil will tie him down, one string at a time, until the giant wakes up and cannot respond. And that's what they're doing to you. They brought in their Trojan horses over the decades. They've been bringing in the enemy into this country for a century, more than a century, much more than a century. They've been planning this for a long time. These people take down civilizations, and yet they're controlled by some assholes behind the scene that are even more wicked than they are. They reveal themselves in their artwork and in their movies. Yeah, and you don't see it. But they put their stuff out there in a mocking sense to let you know that you're helpless. You can't do anything about them. This government has you paralyzed. You can't do anything about them. You're not allowed to defend yourselves anymore. Number one tip, get yourself in physical shape. It's your number one defense. You're going to be defending yourself this summer. I don't know which part of it. The sooner you wake up, the better. It is going to be very, very rough. You better get your arms and your ammunition while you can, because you're going to be carrying your firearms for self-defense and to defend your infrastructure. What's left of it after you wake up and realize that this government has been totally set up to destroy you. That's why they're waging, well, the Bible says, pestilence, famine, sword. And they brought the pestilence to you for decades now. They continue poisoning you. I don't really believe germ theory all that much. I think that we've been poisoned very subtly over centuries, decades. I think that's what's been going on. And that's what's happening really big time right now. All of your allergies, all of the maladies that you have, most of them have been inflicted through your food supply. You've been poisoned and don't know it. You want to get rid of that stuff? Stop buying the processed foods, especially cereals. They put whatever the hell they want in that. And don't trust this FDA. at all. Go back to the old ways. Figure out what your grandparents did. Figure out how they survived that Great Depression. What they did to their eggs so they wouldn't get sick. What they did to everything. What was safe and what wasn't. And do not regard this modern technology as salvation at all. They're going after your children and you won't wake up. And I think we should pull the plug on all public education in this country. I think we should not pay any more taxes. Not 1 cent of taxes for government schools. They're all just nothing but prisons, preparing your children, institutionalizing them so that they can go to prison. Why do you think you have the most people in prison on the face of the planet? Yeah, things are really screwed up. You're not living under constitutional rule. You don't have a constitution. That's all a show put on to keep you quiet. You don't have a republic. You haven't had a republic for decades. Abraham Lincoln screwed it all up, and it got worse since then. You want your republic back? Then tune into my shows. Listen to those old videos of mine. They ain't very old. I mean, the oldest one's going to be maybe 6 months, maybe 9 months. I didn't start these very long ago. Unfortunately, I started too late. I don't have much of a following right now. You need to buy my Bibles. It's the best Bible in the world. Reading it will straighten you up. It will edify you so you won't be so prone to being deceived. And Yahshua, who you call Jesus Christ, and his last name isn't Christ, Yahshua, the Messiah, told you on 2 occasions, he gave you his orders. His marching orders were, don't be deceived. Number 1 order. It was repeated. We call that a double witness. It's in the Bible at least twice, maybe more than that. But I've seen it 2 places. And what was the second part of his command, his instruction said to us? Stand your ground. Hold your ground until I return. Stand your ground means defend yourselves. It means defend your faith. It means stand upright. Be an upright man. These women that continue to want to dominate us, you need to excommunicate them from your lives. Do not talk to them. Do not give them the time of day. They will only lead you astray. They want power. They cannot resist the urge, the temptation to manipulate and to dominate. I tell my brothers and I tell my sisters, there's an error in the Bible. In the book of Genesis in chapter 3, when Yahweh is telling Eve her sentence, and he's also telling Satan his sentence too. And to Eve he says, and your desire shall be for your husband, is what most Bibles put it in there as. Now, why would she suddenly have to have a desire for her husband? Is it because she had a desire for Satan that she shouldn't have had? Yeah, that's what we think. We don't really know what happened to Eve. It's not given to us in much detail in the Bible. We do know that she complains to Yahweh that the serpent seduced her. Was it rape? What kind of a rape would it be? I mean, a violent rape? Would it just have been deception? Did she think she was having sex with Yahweh himself or something like that? Not realizing it was one of the Satans? Did she commit an act of prostitution? Did she, have sex for trade? I mean, because it's been accused of being the oldest profession in the world. I don't know. The Bible is not clear enough on that. Okay, ladies, it's not. But what it says is, your desire shall be for your husband, and the Bible is in an error there. There are 2 words that have been left out. In context, it should be this. Your desire shall be to rule over your husband. And you need to understand something. You were given extra abilities over and above a man for the purposes of motherhood, continuing the species, rearing good, strong children, the most important job in the world, which you demean and put down. But instead, you use those extra God-given talents, those extra abilities that Yahweh gave you for womanly ends, to manipulate, to cajole, to dominate. And as a direct result, you drive yourself crazy. You cause yourself to go nuts, insane. You see, you want a man because he's like a stump in the ground. He can't be moved. You want him for your stability. You want to anchor onto him so that you are held in place, so that you have good grounding, good standing. And you don't get that unless you are in your proper place, your proper role. And before you go on demeaning or going against me on this, think about this. Do you outrank your own mothers? You try. So who outranks whom? Does daughter outrank mother, or mother outrank daughter? Does daughter outrank son, or son outrank daughter, mother? You need to understand these things. You get great wisdom from understanding these things. Your fulfillment comes from certain avenues that only you can take. We men don't have that choice. You actually have more choice than we do. We can't have children except with you. And I beg you to join with us men and establish men's abortion rights. We men should be required to be consulted before an abortion. Not only that, if we don't want our children aborted, you should give us our children. You should yield them up to us. That is only fair. We should be allowed to save our own children. You shouldn't be allowed to take their lives, to be honest with you. You, as the giver of life, must not be the taker of life. It's against your nature. And if you want to know, Gamble Island in Alaska was where the whalers were removed and the women had to take life, which was against their tradition. You see, only the men could go taking life, because women, as givers of life, were not allowed to go take a life. The men were the hunters. They would bring it back. The women prepared it and did it all, basically, from there. But they did not take a life. But the Russians took the men away a long time ago. And the women that were left on the island had to subsist and survive. They had to do the whaling themselves. They had to do the hunting themselves, and it hurt their spirit. You can learn a lot by tuning into indigenous cultures. They have tremendous wisdom. The pragmatism of the natives in Alaska is so off the charts, you'd learn a lot from them. They taught me a lot. We have a problem. We have a problem in Alaska. All of that FTX money ended up in Alaska and threw off the people's will. So we've elected people that we don't want in office. Murkowski got reelected. She should have been gone a long time ago. Murkowski will be one of those that gets her own private swing set in Washington, D.C. when the people finally rise up. And I'm sorry, but that new congresswoman, the congresswoman for all of Alaska, unless she repents and starts adopting proper American values, she's going to go up there with them. You see, folks, people are going to get really angry when they realize these treasonous, traitorous rat bastards and how they've done us in over time. We have the best Congress money can buy. They're all part of the I am bought off party. And anybody who supports that administration that's in office right now, that is intent upon destroying America, anyone who supports that liberal destruction of America, They're a traitor. They can't be trusted. They don't have good judgment. They don't have proper judgment. I tried to advise the fellow from that young congresswoman's office on some things and offer my services. I did do that. But I realized they will never listen to me. They will never heed any wisdom. They don't even listen to the wisdom of their own people. She comes from Bethel. I've lived in Bethel. I've worked in Bethel. I understand those people. It's not a very pleasant town. It really isn't. I won't go into the details of how we describe Bethel, but the natives there are more practical than you or I are. They actually reason much more than what you think. And they may talk slowly. They may have few words. But believe me, they are deep thinkers, and their minds are turning like you wouldn't believe. And if you're patient, and if you just sit there and be with them and wait several minutes, at least 5 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes, sometimes a full hour, they will respond to you with the depth of their reasoning while you've sat there in silence with them, thinking that nothing's going on. And they will pick up where you left off and leave your dumb ass in the dust because they know better. We talk too much. Yes, we do. And they're right about that. They understand animal and human nature far better than we do. And they're very respectful. And I'll have to tell you a little bit more about my time in Bethel and what I learned out there, since this young congresswoman, who's a Democrat, sadly, and we only have one congresswoman. We only have one representative for all of Alaska. And as my buddy said, Don Young would turn in his grave right now if he saw who we elected, what we elected. And the problem that I found when I lived in Bethel is that we were helping the natives, and even their leadership realized that. We were helping them to death, helping them destroy themselves. We were helping them, making them dependent upon us. And it was a horrible thing to watch. And if we got out of the way, they'd be just fine. We need to leave them alone, stop forcing our ways upon them, and let them rule themselves locally. Yes, their ways are really strange, are really weird, but there's good reason for it. It was established over time for a reason. And they have problems because our value systems and their value systems clash, and they don't know which way they want to go at times. They regard alcohol differently. Most of them have got village sex slaves, too, that continue on to this day. They've got some trading of the children, which goes on to this day. They've got some bizarre practices, and they kill each other and set it up to look like suicides. I had one son of a bitch up in the upriver who was so tough, he had to shoot himself twice. 2 gunshots in the head. Ruled a suicide. Tough son of a bitch. Right? No, he was murdered. This was the people didn't want to work with the troopers. So the troopers put it on the books as a damn suicide because they were afraid to get in there. Literally afraid to get in there and do their jobs. When I called them up, they got upset with me because I'm reporting crimes and they tell me I have to have evidence. And I tell them, no, sir, it's not my job. My job is to report it. It's your job to investigate it. Don't put that bullshit off on me. Do your job. Troopers were very incredible people. And the village safety officers, man, there was one in Strathbluck that, man, was he incredible. He busted them all. He had them all busted for driving while intoxicated. 19-year-old kid, tall kid. I remember him and his girlfriend. She was pretty as a princess. And he took his job and his oath seriously. And I remember the mayor. Anyway, folks, we're at our full hour. And this is it for today. I woke up in the middle of the night. The dog woke me up. And sadly, I didn't get her out in time. I can't punish her. She messed on the carpet again, and it's loose again, so I gotta go buy more pumpkin. Maybe I should nickname my dog Pumpkin. It looks like I'm not going to be able to feed her regular food. I'm suspecting that it's the poison in one of her treats that's causing the problem. She had problems with that before and seemed to be getting along with it just fine. But now I'm thinking that this particular treat, and they do the same to you and I, they put that bullshit in there to upset us, to give you irritable bowel syndrome, to give you a leaky gut. They put all that stuff in there. They're poisoning us, folks. They poison the crops. They poison the food. What? You think that because they can genetically engineer a plant that it resists pests, you think it's safe for your consumption? Oh my God, hell no. That nicotinic stuff they use to keep the pests off the plants, that stuff's bad for you and me too. Yet, they're able to put it on the food. And if you listen to the Hopi Indians, they would have warned you decades ago. They knew it was coming. They told you that we were going to put something on the food that wouldn't hurt them, but it would hurt their grandchildren. Yep, and they also prophesied the ladder between the earth and the moon. They prophesied a lot of things, including the end of the age and their doggone snake dance. And the way they treat bald eagles, I'm sorry, I'm with the Navajos on that, man. Those guys got to stop that stuff. That's horrible. They capture these eagles or take these eaglets out of the nests and they chain them to their houses for good luck. The bird is chained, never gets to fly. What kind of a pet is that? And in case you're wondering, in your United Nations and the stained glass windows, the bird is also captured. They have the United States of America like a little chicken in the hand of one of the fallen angels. One of the devils is in the stained glass art in the United Nations headquarters in New York City. That's what they put on you, folks, is that kind of a magic spell. That's what they're doing. The purpose of the United Nations is to take down the United States of America, and they've done a pretty good job. Right now, we're required to abide by the United Nations World Health Organization. So we've lost our sovereignty, folks. Hey, you make me president, I'll kick their asses out. I will confiscate that property down there. I will put it on display for the evil it is. They've got a sanctuary to Satan there. Yeah, that's who they worship, folks. Come on, folks, wake up. Smell the coffee. Smell the roses. Get a reality check. Those bastards have subverted this nation. They have taken away the republic. You are captured. You need to wake up. You need to form your independent militias. Most of the militias were not state militias when we started. They were independent groups that banded together. You know, the Green Allen, what was Ethan Allen and his Green Mountain Boys? I guess I used the word boys again. Oh, there I go. Dr. Kent's a racist. He's calling people boys again. That little son of a bitch in Houston accused me of racism. Said I called him the N-word. And I wanted to say, the N-word? Did I call him a numismatic expert? Maybe I called him a Nazi. Oh no, what else could I have called him? I didn't call him any of that bullshit. I was relying upon him to help me in the administration of my inheritance I got from my family. My God, did he help all right. Unfinished business. Folks, I need your help. Please buy my Bibles. It's the best Bible in the world. My distant ancestor oversaw the production, the translation of the 1611 King James Bible. Yes, he did. He brought you that. And in this case, I'm very proud because I get to tell you and bring you the latest and best version of the Bible. It is the King James Bible, by the way. However, it is the proper name version in which we have reestablished the proper names of Yahweh and Yahshua in the Bible, in their proper places. And those are important things. Those were removed by the evil ones. They've been editing and screwing up our Bible for a long time. And Ptolemy II, in about 275 BC, when he was producing the Greek version of the Bible, the Septuagint, took the proper name of Yahweh out of the Bible and put in there God and Lord instead of it. And he actually took the name Baal and Lord for the evil lords and mixed those up a little bit on us to confuse us, I suspect. However, he was producing the Greek language of the Septuagint because most of the Israelites had been dispersed and were speaking Greek. They had been Hellenized. That was 275 BC, give or take a year or two. And the year to remember is 722 BC. The Assyrians went into the house of Israel, the northern half of Israel, and they took those people out. And eventually, about 70 years later, after 3 or 4 incursions and deporting the population, putting them as a buffer zone between the Syrians and the Medes, the Israelites escaped across the Caucasus mountain range, which is why you're called a Caucasian. And that's why the state of Alaska doesn't want me calling myself a Caucasian, because they don't want me to ask the next rational, logical question is, where did I come from before that? You've been lied to, folks. You came from the northern house of Israel. You are the real deal. You're not a Gentile grafted in by grace. You are a descendant of Israel the man, with whom he made the new covenant. The same people he made the old covenant with, folks. So wake up. Realize that that's why the evil ones, the devils, are hunting you down. Because you're the only ones that can stand up to the devils and protect the rest of the populations on this earth. There's a lot of different species here. You want to call them races? I call them species. It fits better. And I'm not being insulting by saying that. I'm being scientific by saying that. I'm being proper by saying that. Yahweh bless. That's all I got for you. Over and out.